let me start by saying, you haven't heard me say this, but congrats on the movie. I think it's so well done, considering you guys made it for like $1.50 and a roll of duct tape. So I'm so impressed with what ends up on screen. I'm sort of curious, to jump in, I heard that you like to improvise a little bit in the moment. So I'm curious, how did that work? Because this is like your first first movie, working with someone who likes to find it in the moment.
Yeah.
If you guys could talk about that.
I mean, he taught me so much about improv, and I really appreciate it because the first time I worked with him, he would go off script, and I was really confused. I was waiting for my cue. But then I really learned how to just go off script and kind of conversate in the moment. And it really helped me because then I really realized that sometimes it's okay to go off script, and sometimes it makes the scene a lot better and it makes it a lot more realistic because you're not always like, oh, what's my next line? You're not always thinking about that. You're just kind of going off script but still staying in the subject. So he taught me so much about that, and he's just so amazing.
The thing, really good movies are about great conversation. And if movies aren't conversational, then especially movies in this genre. And if you get the actors to believe that they can just talk to each other and look like they have relationships with each other, and then you don't have a lot of exposition explaining the relationship because you get to see it. And that's what they did very well with their script, and then left us alone to have the relationships. And she gets it like that, and she obviously gets it like that. And just real quick, which is essential in a movie like this, because you're going to have so much stuff that isn't controllable by conversation or anything like that, that has to look a certain way and so forth and so on. And this one is amazing. The mother is amazing. The real mother is amazing. And it was fun. That's the other thing. Movies should be fun.
Yeah.
And these guys had fun. I don't know if they had fun, but we had fun.
But we had fun.
The saying is, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's very, very true.
Wise words from an almost 10-year-old.
Right. That's also, going back to what you were saying, it's a lot of show me, don't tell me, which always makes things better. For each of you, talk a little bit. One of the things that really impressed me about this film is the script, is the story that that they did successfully put on screen. For each of you, could talk a little bit about what it was about the script and the story that really appealed to you?
I think for me, reading the script, it was about 3 years ago, and it was when the first stuff was happening with the wall, and all of the stuff that's happening politically with sexuality, different cultures, racism, it really touches on those themes, but in a completely non-political way, and in a genre that makes it really fun and kind of like an adventure to watch. And you leave thinking about those themes thematically, about on what's happening in our present day world, but in a kind of a supernatural sci-fi world. And I feel like that's the power of movies, is to make you think and escape, but you're escaping in a different world, yet you can relate to so much that's happening in this world. That was, for me, what I really loved about the script.
For me, when my mom read me the script, it really touched me that Chloe has never been outside because I love the outside. And I was really curious because, she's never been outside and her dad's keeping her. And I was really asking myself, what would I do if I had never been outside and my dad was keeping me out? And then just the whole adventure she goes through, when she meets Mr. Snowcone and everything, it really made me curious, and it really made me want to get the part.
For me, it was basically, I am always excited at how people look at me in the casting business, in the producing, writing business, when they come to me and they say, well, we want you. Well, that gives me a green light to say, well, they know who I am, they know what I bring, they know so forth and so on, so we don't need to go through all that. But then to have the ability, especially when I never knew either one of them before, and you have to trust them, because they don't BS you. It's on the page, and you got to make that live. A lot of movies, they don't live on the page. and the actors have to bring it alive. Well, these guys had a form, and you had to bring it alive within that form. And they write very good conversational dialogue. And that was a big help to us. Plus the fact this little one is a wizard, and the mom was
Literally.
outstanding.
Yeah.
And it was just, she was, you walk on very few sets where somebody is the magical light on the set. Well, this was that.
Right. How much did she give you to say that? Was it $1 or $5?
What was it? No, there was change.
A loony. We were in Vancouver. She needed a loony.
Right. For each of you guys, I'm always curious about how people like to get ready to shoot something. So do each of you have like a pre-shooting ritual, like something you like to do before the camera starts going?
Ooh.
I mean, we rehearse.
For me, it's very simple. I had a director once said to me, before I did a movie for him, Alexander Payne, when we did Nebraska, he said to me, I wonder if you'd do something for the cameraman and I that we're not sure you've ever done in your career. I said, what would that be? He said, never show us anything. Let us find it.
Oof.
And that immediately takes all the pressure off you because you know you have a partner and you don't have to show them anything. You can just behave, have conversations. She had that naturally, and she has that naturally. So it's you know, it just worked. The chemistry was good, but what the credit goes to the two guys because they knew that somehow before they cast us. They knew that the math would work. You know what I mean?
Sure. Do you have any sort of pre-shooting thing? Some people I heard like music, or you know they want quiet. Like each person has a different thing.
I don't stick to one certain thing. So many sets are so different. Some people, you're working with cast members who are really loud and like, or the crew's, I don't know. I find the music could be distracting. But I don't follow. It depends on what genre you're doing too. Like if you're trying to be light and free. I think as long as you're in your body, maybe some deep breaths. I don't know.
Well, also, you are the character. So as soon as they begin, I've always started one real thing brings out a bunch of other real things. If you start on a false note, so I've always taken, when somebody said to me, why'd you ever leave the theater? Why did I started under contract to Mr. Kazan? So I started on Broadway, and then I came to movies. And I realized that they said, well, why don't you go back to the theater? Why? That makes us forever. And Kazan always said to me, he said, now when you get out there, meaning to Hollywood, you know, don't ever tell a director what you're going to do before take one, ever. I said, well, how the hell am I going to get away with that? He said, very simply, because he's got something you will never have. I said, what's that? Take two. So if you get it done the first time, it's going to be there, or they'll do it again another way. But at least, because if you go up to these people, and directors or writers, and say, well, I like to do this or that, they're going to hate it. No matter what, they're going to hate it. Doesn't matter who it is. So you can't tell them. You just have to show them and do it. And it's spontaneity. And for an 8-year-old kid to understand what spontaneity is easy. I mean, kids can be the best actors you'll ever work with if they just leave themselves alone and don't try and perform. You know, because you're hired because you're you. And we don't want you to be Shirley Temple. We want you to be you. And that's what she picked up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On that note, congrats on the movie. Wish you guys nothing but the best. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm out.